All right, let's begin. So, for the idea for Hades, I wanted to have him as a centerpiece and go a little bit more of a black and white silhouetted look. So, I'm having him sit down and he's going to be contemplating, kind of looking down at the ground with his staff in one hand. And then in behind, I'm going to have this white uh, Cerberus, this three-headed, dog creature. And then I have the river with all the different boats flowing through this image as well. So, there's a lot I'm trying to plan out here. Really, what I'm trying to do is avoid too much detail and just blacken out everything. But it changes as we go. All right, I'm starting with the face. As you can see here, I start with the face because if the face looks good, I feel good. I feel like I can continue drawing and I can get him in a pose. I can change the pose as long as the face really represents what I want it to, look like. When you see me put this like dots in a line or something like that, that's me kind of like marking where the light starts and the shading begins. And this is kind of a way to kind of not be so obvious with thick black lines. And as you can see here, I'm shading in with lines, contouring the nose, going towards the line that I drew with the dots on it. And because they're dots and not a straight line, these lines will connect to those dots and feel less hindered by a straight line that it comes against, right? So it works out great, and this is kind of a way for me to protect my drawing, and I can change it a little bit without too much mess up. So as I'm shading this face and I'm trying to build more depth through cross-hatching, I'm realizing that his eyes are fine, but they don't really give me mystery or this powerful kind of look. So I start overworking the eyes to the point where right now I'm just adding detail, but then honestly I get freaked out by the fact that his eyes aren't looking right, and I color it all in with black, so his eyes are just black, and it works, it fit, and it actually gives me the vibe that I'm going for him sitting down. And I know a lot of artists that I look at have their art pieces where the face and skin is usually not detailed at all, very hardly, only maybe muscles and a few things. And then everything else around their skin, like bracelets and clothing, stuff like that, is hyper detailed. In the same fashion, I'm trying to merge halfway point. Now with this staff I'm drawing a few straight lines to get the angle that I want. I'm not connecting the full line because I want to add texture and items and things to this staff to make it a little bit unique and special to the way I want to design it. Originally it was going to be made out of stone, out of some kind of rock, and be all mangled up. But then I went with this like root at the top, and some other features you'll see shortly. Drawing the hand, you can see here I'm drawing the knuckles, and that was the wrong placement. It should be a little bit higher. Yep, right there. But I'm going to black that out or shade it in to where you can't tell that those lines mean anything anyways. I drew his finger a little too fat and weird. Now it doesn't match with the ring. Do you notice it? I sure do. And for the wrinkles, I just make up wrinkles. I've kind of gotten used to just like putting lines in a weird shape and then just hoping it's going to work out. Kind of all the points are leading towards the bending point of the shirt, right? Kind of an illusion kind of style of shading. But I draw this out all the way through and then start shading in my lines with cross hatching and stuff like that. This just honestly just saves me a lot of time of thinking, because if I could just make up stuff and kind of work around the shadows what I think might work, then once it's done, it's usually merged in with translation, so you don't really see the issues. But designing his cloak was a pain in the butt because I was trying to be creative and create new styles with the Greek and something unique to the Underworld. I ended up just pulling out stones and gems as these circular things decorated around with some kind of golden plating or something. And then now you're seeing me draw a line between the bottom part and the top, this section, and that's because it's too long. I drew it too long, and now I'm going to shade it in all black so that people don't realize I made it too long and made it weird. Because it should be symmetrical to his other side, which is still not, but I made an effort, you know what I mean? All right, Cerberus, the dog. Here I'm terrified. I'm sweating right now because I'm like, I hope this doesn't mess up. So instead of drawing a straight line for the dog, I also did the dots. I did the whole dog in dots. I guess I started with it and I was like, you know what, let's just be extra careful right now before I solidify any lines. And so I start pretty much just drawing all the wrinkles and everything of the dog through this dotted process. Now, I did use a reference. I went on Pinterest and found 3 different dot wolves with 3 different heads, and they were all angled differently. And then I cropped them all out and then put them in Photoshop or Procreate, I mean, and then just manipulated the image to where it was 3 dog heads, and then I kind of worked with that. And just to show you what I did, this is the image of the 3 dogs merged together. You can see it's chaos. And I just kind of, winged it around the areas where they merged and just hoped that my dots wouldn't make it connect each head and the body and all. Now, when I'm drawing this, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, well, these dots are helping me look like fur. It's kind of building out structure of this dog. If I keep working inward to outward, then it can look like fur. But if I go too far out, and then it'll be hard to do. Now, this dog on the right, he looks like a weird boar or pig kind of dog thing. I don't know what happened. I don't know what to tell you. It just messed up. It just looks goofy. But in the whole scheme of things, after I've done all 3 dogs, it actually looks fine. But definitely didn't like it. This dog here has a little bit bigger of a head, but I like this one the best because of the angle. It just really is more fierce and has it brings out the image a little bit better. But yeah. Now, I thought about detailing the dog fully with all the fur and line work and everything, but then I was like, you know what, I need to minimize the amount of time I spend on this, and that could have taken me quite some time. Instead, I used all the negative space elsewhere and made it work. Now, onto the staff. The staff I changed my idea. I wanted to have some kind of fire or flame coming through it because he's in the underworld, and I thought, what would be a cool staff to have for Hades? Some kind of staff that had light, because I imagine Hades is dark. But yeah, some kind of reflective light that shines across all his kingdom, or helping people be guided would be cool. So I made a staff with mirrors on it, and then I have this like twisted root, upside down root, with the 2 prongs instead of a bident. It's more like a bident root, which I draw the other point on the other side very small later on, mainly because I forgot at that point. The gems and jewelry that I have for his design actually originally was supposed to be more of a square gem, more of a diamond style, but then the circles were so much easier to draw, and I think I've drawn circles so much that it just kind of came naturally to start drawing it. But then putting the details around it, I wasn't being very accurate. I wasn't being very symmetrical. I was just kind of given an idea. I kind of loosely winged it. And this design here came from the Greeks' design work that I was just trying to mimicking into his clothes. And I'm now finally continuing to shade in the right side of his shoulder, face, or left side of the page with these lines, these heavy lines. And this comes from a Bernie Wrightson style, where he pushes the lines in one direction to give some flow and movement. And it doesn't have to actually be perfect. That's what's nice about this technique. It doesn't have to be straight, perfect connecting lines. You can see how rough I'm being, but it gives a really nice effect of movement and shadow and the play of details, because you forget about the details that might or should be there. So that's something to keep in mind. The key to making it look clean, though, is knowing how far of each line is going to go, when to stop, and making it connect pretty perfectly with all the other lines. But shading was mainly used in this drawing specifically to bypass all the details I would have to draw. Still lots of line work. It's just none of the fabric details and little icons and stuff like that, and jewelry that I had to put everywhere. So to hide it, that's the way to do it. I didn't have too many textures on his clothing. Here's a texture that I was just doodling around to make it look like some kind of embroidery on his clothing. Just zigzags and swirls and little lines here and there. That's all that is. I'm just guessing and hoping that you guys don't recognize that I didn't plan that out. At this point, I'm pretty happy where I've come with him. I actually like most of what he looks like at this point. Just going to finish off the top part and then move on to the bottom, because I have to merge the black lines and the shading with him. So right now I'm going to draw the people traveling in their little boats to the underworld, and this is where they have the coins to pay the ferryman, and Hermes will take them and all that jazz. The first boat looks a little goofy, a little bit longer in the front than the back, so I try to fix that. And then I have them all going in a direction towards him, where underneath him will be a small light, kind of like a cave opening up with a bunch of light, meaning they've made it to their destination or something. I just thought it was cool, but the water will be all black with white reflective ripples. Now I'm drawing the light beams, and that's coming from, I'm doing the same technique as the staff, just a few lines here and there from the light beams, from the mirrors that are reflecting the flame in his staff, which I think is very cool. Now here's where I messed up a little bit. Inside the white line, the bright light right there from the reflection, I drew some lines, though they are dotted. And then I have a straight line here that's going to build out the cavern. But I probably shouldn't put any dotted lines in the lighted area and just kept these hard lines for the details of the cavern and stuff. And I'm shading the caverns. Right now I'm going straight lines. As you can see, there's a little bit of a divot. That's a wrinkle. But then those wrinkles are going to merge into these, in caves they have the stalactite formations in caves. Now, I like them. They're very cool. But I wanted to have the straight lines eventually become the curved, rounded lines. And you can see that I'm not being very precise, I'm being very sloppy. Look at that. That is sloppy. Goodness, Josh. And yeah, so now I start building out the wrinkles turn into the stalactites, and we go into it. Yeah. As confident as I am about these stalactite formations, as I'm drawing and coloring in all the black around it and trying to merge them into thinner lines, the shading, I'm realizing, man, I covered up the bottom part of his staff in that process. You can see the white line going underneath the staff that should be his staff kind of merging into these stalactites, but I epically failed and forgot about it. And now I'm back to drawing these circular cone-like shading for these stalactites. And the cool thing is you don't have to be perfect with this kind of shading technique. You just kind of want to wobble a little bit on your lines on purpose, and it builds a good effect. It's real easy. It's really hard to make a mistake on that. Now for the white ripples in the water, I wanted to just use the Posca. It's just an easier process. The only problem with the Posca is that tip that I have is a little bit thick and it leaves really bold lines. And then I have to go over it twice to make it a pure white, as well as I need to go with a black marker brush pen to kind of sharpen the ends of each line that I draw, because they're all round and I want some sharp points to it. But I just go in and put where I think the white would come from ripples, and give some effect. And it turned out perfectly, actually fine. I mean, this part right here gets a little goofy where I'm drawing this line going back because I angle it wrong. I need to angle it more towards me. But anyways, yeah, this is just my thoughts on the drawing I did this week. I hope you liked it. I hope it was informative. And you can see that, I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but I do try. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. This will definitely be something awesome for me. Check out my other videos and the full video of Hades that I posted this week. And yeah, if you're a creative, go create.